If you were a child standing in line, waiting to be picked to play on a team sport, at that moment in time, being picked last isn't cool. The feeling of not being good enough is a natural fear of all kids, but for disabled children, it has always been a struggle to be picked at all. But thanks to one Ascension Parish resident, that feeling of rejection has been transformed into acceptance, which has the rest of the nation recognizing the efforts of the Ascension Parish Inclusion League, also known as APPLE.
I'm Betsy Baldwin. I founded the APPLE program and also run the program as far as getting volunteers, getting events, scheduling events. So I guess I am the program coordinator / director of the APPLE program.
This role that Betsy has as director wasn't assigned. It was established by her to fulfill a basic need of acceptance for kids whose own uniqueness has the opposite effect among the ordinary.
I began APPLE with a vision a while back. I have a cousin who has cerebral palsy, and he played in a T-ball league that Breck has through their inclusion sports. And when I went watch, I decided that there should be no reason why Ascension Parish shouldn't have the same thing in their parish, and why the children in Ascension Parish, there should be no reason for them to drive to another parish in order to have these opportunities. So I decided to have the idea of having an inclusive league in Ascension.
APPLE stands for Ascension Parish Inclusion League. It is a program that was developed by Betsy in cooperation with the Ascension Parish Recreation Department to give children with disabilities the opportunity to have recreation at their level and involve their parents and offer them coping strategies with positive behavior support.
The program is run by solely by volunteers. There is no paid job that has to do with APPLE, so I pretty much run it. Sherry Kinchin is a huge part of the program. She was the director, the park director when it became, and now she's human resources, but she still has a huge role in it. Mr. Garney Gotro, that works for the Parish of Ascension for the Recreation Department, has been huge in it. Beth Clark has helped out a lot. The volunteers that have helped me have been a lot of my friends and family.
APPLE started as an idea that Betsy Baldwin had as an adaptive physical education instructor or teacher with the Recreation Department, wanting to broaden the scope of recreation in the parish. And she came to the Recreation Department and expressed her desire for a program.
They, as well as I, came together and decided that we were going to form some type of committee to get the parish involved and to get people knowing about it. So we had a public meeting. At that meeting, they had 2 doctors from the Department of Developmental Disabilities in Hammond that came to me and asked me if they could write a grant to get my program started.
And they offered us a grant, which made the program so much easier to begin because we then had some revenue to buy equipment that is designed for either cognitively or physically disabled children.
So they did. They wrote the grant and they ended up getting it. So the APPLE program was awarded $42,000 to start the program with this grant, and that was under a year. After that year was over, the parish picked it up, and then they put money into our budget every year, so now it is a parish program.
Initially, the volunteers were friends and fellow students of Betsy's. Of course, the parents are always there, sometimes more involved than others. Right now we're doing basketball, so the parents are more in a spectator mode, but they're there if we need them. It's anybody who would like to be involved.
When APPLE first began, we wanted to get started right away. We basically wanted to get started to see the kids twice a month in order to get the parish the word out. And under the grant, there were stipulations that we had to see, you know, every so often. So we started this idea of these Saturday fun days. And what it was is it's set up to very informal. We did not want to have too many stipulations on the kids. We wanted them to get comfortable with the volunteers, comfortable with the equipment, and comfortable with the environment so they could feel free and having fun and in a recreational setting.
1, 2, 3, go! Whee!
What we did to start off with is we had many events set up, and the kids moved freely throughout the events, and they got to stay at each event for as long as they wanted to. And it was all about getting to know one another, figuring out what they like, getting acquainted with the volunteers. A lot of times when you start a new program, the parents as well as the kids are a little bit adamant about getting started because they want to know who's going to be working with their children and what equipment they're going to be using. So these days were to get set up in order to get the kids geared up and ready to go, allowing them to be comfortable in the setting, that they could be themselves, and that they didn't have any reservations about having fun. We had bowling set up, volleyball. We had nets set up so the kids use fine motor skills as well as gross motor skills to, just have fun and get around. I feel like these fun days help the kids become aware of what equipment they have to use. I felt like it helped the kids become aware of the fact that they would be playing with kids of all abilities, whether they have walkers, whether they are the star of their basketball team, whether they're in a wheelchair, whether they have Down syndrome or they couldn't hear or can't see. No matter what, all of these kids are going to be involved with this program.
The need for acceptance is universal, but the act of acceptance is unifying. Kids in the Ascension Parish Inclusion League program are able to connect with those who are not like them, but through Apple, they discover the virtue of being unique.
We all gather around before basketball, and I tell them to all take a seat. Well, one of the little boys came alongside of me, and we were getting everybody up, and a little boy who was in a wheelchair rolled up, and I told everybody to take a seat on the court, and the little boy sitting next to me says, except for him, because he's in a chair with wheels. And I said, that's exactly right, because he has his own chair. He has what we call a fly ride. And this little girl sitting next to me was like, that's right, he has a fly ride. So then all the kids wanted to sit by this kid because he had the fly ride. So then at the end of the game, we all stacked it up on his chair instead of in the middle because he couldn't put his hand in the middle. So we all stacked it up on his lap because he had the coolest chair in the building. Stuff like that is just so amazing when you see kids, because if this program doesn't exist and those kids look at him, well, he can't play, he's in a wheelchair. Well, in turn, they look at it in a positive way. He's in a wheelchair. He has the coolest thing. He gets to ride in his chair the whole time. So these kids are starting to open up, which is amazing, and that is just, the most recent. That happened, not long ago. So every single time I come to Apple, I could probably give you a different story of how motivating and how awesome these kids are.
Now remember, when you get the ball and when it's in the infield, you try and go to that base, okay? If you can't make it to the base, just hold the ball up and what do we say? Time! If you get it in the field, you hold it up and say time, okay? The coach of the blue team is going to be Miss Callie and Miss Courtney, okay? So if y'all have any questions, y'all ask Miss Callie and Miss Courtney. And the red team is going to be Miss Sunny and Miss Terry, okay? So if y'all have any questions, y'all listen, okay? All right, let's all go over here to home plate. Hey, buddy. It's your
All right, Nicholas, you ready?
All right, try again.
has now turned to setting up in leagues. This was my original vision when I started the program. I wanted it to be set up in league play so that the kids had different leagues throughout the years that they could be a part of. The first league that we started off with was T-ball. T-ball has seemed to take off. We're working on now trying to have T-ball and coaches pitch, so hopefully we have enough kids to do that this year. One of the big things that we had in T-ball was the fact that Glenn Dorsey came out to help us. We had T-ball day, and the kids have had 5 weekends that they came out. One of the weekends, Glenn Dorsey came out and was our head official behind home plate. So he was the guy saying play ball. What was funny about having Glenn Dorsey at T-ball was that I feel like my volunteers and my parents were completely overwhelmed with excitement that Glenn Dorsey was there. Now with the kids, like we told Glenn Dorsey when he walked up, we said that this would probably be a very humbling experience because the kids are pretty young. They knew Glenn Dorsey was a big-time football player, but they didn't really have a grasp on what he was and who he was and how actually good he is. So when the kids came, you know, they just played T-ball like any other day, and the parents and the volunteers were just awestruck with Glenn Dorsey. What was neat was that we saw Glenn Dorsey as a person and not as this big-time football player. He was out there saying play ball. He was out there high-fiving the kids. He was out there telling them, you know, good job and great job. And here's this big-time football player, you know, coming down when he's doing, you know, he plays in the NFL with the highest level of play that you can play, and yet he's taking time out to show the kids, yeah, you still need to have fun when you play. You know, you still need to have good teamwork and sportsmanship, and these type of things are still important no matter if you're playing in a recreational setting or if you're playing and you're getting paid in big-time NFL. These things are still important.
Hi, my name is Sherry Kinchin, and I'm out here at Sanama Park on Stringer Bridge Road with APPLE, which stands for Ascension Parish Inclusion League, and we have a very special guest with us today. Glenn Dorsey, a famous LSU football player, took us to our national title this year, and we're so excited he came out for our little children today. Glenn, we'd like to ask you what you thought about visiting with us here today.
I enjoyed it. You know, I grew up around here. I started off in the Santa Maria Wildcats football league. We used to practice out here, so I mean, it was good to come back out here. You know, and I enjoy the kids. You know, they having a good time, so you know, it was fun.
Good. We are just delighted to have you here. And standing next to Glenn is Betsy Baldwin, the director of the APPLE program. And I want Betsy to tell you a little bit about the history of the program and how we ended up here with this wonderful turnout on this cloudy April morning.
Well, the program first started out just to be a small program to get kids in a non-competitive, all-inclusive setting so that kids of all abilities and all ages can work together in a fun setting through recreation and games. It started off with myself and a friend of mine coming to Sherry, talking to her about a possible inclusion program. And then from there, people jumped on board, and we formed a pilot program through Louisiana Health and Hospitals and through the Department of Disabilities in Hammond. So.
And Betsy, tell them about the grant that we were awarded.
We were also awarded a grant it's a pilot program, like I said, from Louisiana Health and Hospitals, and Dr. Rebecca Mandel from the Department of Disabilities in Hammond helped us come together and form this grant.
And Dr. Mandel is walking into the picture as we speak, and she has been critical. Her and her team come along in too. We're going to be turn around, Luke, and look at the camera, sweetheart. We are going to be making a trip to Baltimore in October to present the APPLE program to the National Recreation and Parks Association 2008 Congress. People are going to come and learn about this program, and they're actually going to get credit for taking our session. So we are so proud and really excited, and we could never have done it without all these people that you see here, or without all these people, the parents, the volunteers, our coaches, our referees, our parish government, everybody. It's been wonderful, and you can see it's growing by leaps and bounds. So I am really proud of this team. Couldn't have done it without them. And I also see our parish president just walking in, another special guest today. Ascension Parish President Tommy Martinez is going to come on in. And Luke has another word he'd like to say. Go, Tyler. Go! Okay. Can Mr. Tommy? And Luke, how about giving the microphone to Mr. Tommy?
All
All right, there you go.
I just want to thank Glenn for coming out today. He's been in Ascension Parish a lot lately and does a great job with the kids, and it's a special day, and we want to wish him well in his future endeavors and want to watch him on Sunday afternoons and do a great job. He's represented this community well, and we want to thank you.
Yes, thank you. And that just about wraps it up for Apple on Saturday, April 5th at Santamar Park. Thank you so much for coming.
Apple has been well accepted by those who have participated, so it begs the question, why aren't more communities doing this?
We saw how easy it was for us to start this program, and we wanted to share that. And so when they had the call for proposals, we sat down and talked about whether or not we thought this would make a good hour and a half session. And we sat down and wrote the proposal and sent it off to the NRPA. And within, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, found out that we would be presenting.
We went to the National Recreation Congress in Baltimore, Maryland. It was extremely overwhelming at first. We were chosen to speak on behalf of the Apple program to give people an insight on inclusion recreation in a community setting, to give people the opportunity to ask us questions. We told them how we came about getting the program started. We reached a lot of people and made a lot of connections there and resources at the program. It almost, in my eyes, kind of put the Ascension Parish Recreation on the map of national rod recreation. This is the National Recreation Conference, so it's every state, and we were chosen to present at this Congress. So I was very taken back, very humbled by that experience, that they chose Apple out of everywhere in the nation to come tell this program how we got started and how we did this in our community.
It was an hour and a half session for 2 days, and we basically had a video that we had shot, which was part of the grant, showing what we did, talking about positive behavior support, which is used in our school system today. And we presented to people from all over the United States.
Okay, we're finally here. It's October, and we're in Baltimore for the National Recreation and Parks Association Congress, and we'd been telling you all along that we were going to be presenting, so here we are. And anything and everything you want to know about recreation, from the very, very young to the very, very old, is here, and we will keep you posted as we learn more about recreation in this beautiful city of Baltimore.
But Recreation also, as part of the grant, committed to putting that in their budget. So the $42,000 really gave us a nice start for equipment, but from here on out, Ascension Parish will carry that as a $10,000 budget item in our annual budget so that we can meet the needs as the program grows. And we do look forward to it growing. So that was...
Hi, I'm here with Gwinnett, and she is a volunteer at the National Recreation and Parks Association Congress in Baltimore, Maryland. And we've just finished our presentation, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the presentation and maybe some of the things that you learned and garnered from that presentation.
I am grateful for your presentation. Here in Washington, D.C., we do have a therapeutic program. However, I work in the aquatic section of our department, and I learned that everything that you're doing on land, we can focus and incorporate it in a water-based program. I learned about partnership. I learned about grants. I learned about how to create snow in the summertime. I learned about sponsorships, and I learned about the interaction and how important it is to have all parties involved: family members, staff members, community members, local politicians, as well as just whoever just wants to come out and have some fun.
Well, good. I'm so glad that you garnered all that from our presentation, and I want to extend to you a personal invitation to visit Ascension Parish and enjoy that beautiful, hot, humid weather that we have in South Louisiana.
I would love to come down. I've never been to Louisiana, and as long as you make me some jambalaya, I'll be more than happy to come.
Will do. Thank you, Gwinnett.
You're welcome.
Tough part. Volunteers. I'll talk about volunteers. When you do a program like this and when you present it, everybody wants to be your volunteer. Everybody smiles. Everybody is behind you. Everybody wants to do it. And then you have your program, and then you have 4 people there. And you're waiting and you're waiting. And when the program grows, it's okay because you don't have that many kids there, but then the kids start to come and you're not quite sure what volunteers are. So I would suggest to you to not just ask for volunteers. I would suggest that you go to a volunteer-based, a lot of churches in South Louisiana require, in the Catholic churches, they require kids to get service hours confirmed. They require service hours at the local schools for different programs. I'm a high school coach. I require my kids to come volunteer for the program. You should go anywhere you can. We have something called Volunteer Ascension that we need to that you and your parishes can contact. I would definitely get something concrete, and if you can do it, it would be great to tell your volunteers, I need you this date, this date, and this date, and schedule them out. Volunteers can be very challenging, and then the other aspect is you are asking them to volunteer their time, so you can't really, it's a struggle back and forth whether or not to ask. But if you The best way to contact me as of now would be by email, and my email address is my name. It's betsy.baldwin@yahoo.com, and it's spelled BETSEY.Baldwin, BALDWIN, @yahoo.com. That would be the best and easiest way to contact me as of now. You can also look on the Parish of Ascension website under Recreation. Apple has a page that you can get ideas about events. You can also call the Park Department of Ascension. You can also get news on Apple through them. The easiest and most effective way is probably just to email me directly with questions or comments you may have, and I will get back to you as soon as possible.
Anybody who would really like to be involved and doesn't really know what to do, or they don't have their own children, or maybe they do, but we really encourage family and friends because part of the program is to give coping strategies so that these parents can enjoy life with their child.
Apple's volunteer support has been the secret to their success. And for those children with unique needs who simply want to experience the world without limitation, support is all they ask. For more information on Apple, please contact Betsy Baldwin at betsy.baldwin@yahoo.com or visit www.ascensionparish.net. I'm Clint Falcon, and thank you for watching this Ascension 21 featurette.